You know, it's so important as an investor or as somebody who's just concerned about their retirement account or what will happen in the future to look at what happens between China, the US, and of course, the economy on a global scale. Like what things are happening right now that could affect me, that could affect you as well. We will talk about some of those today. In fact, I wanted to begin right here by looking at the trade deficit hitting a record in 2022. Trade gap widens to $948 billion as global demand weakens. We're talking about almost $1 trillion. This has never been like this before. The US posted its largest trade deficit on record last year as global demand weakened amid high inflation, climbing interest rates, disruptions due to the Ukraine war, and of course, 2020's continued effects, lockdown, and so on. So it just shows us that what we are experiencing here has an impact on many different things. America's imports exceeded its exports by $948 billion. That's up 12% from the year prior. And it gives us a little bit of an insight. Number one, that you could see this as positive in a sense that a lot of stuff was being purchased. Okay, great. But at the same time, why isn't that really something that's going on domestically? Like, why isn't there more domestic consumption? That's what needs to happen. Domestic consumption and production, I should say. If you look at this and see the way that things have changed, look, a long time ago, agriculture was a big thing, and it was out of necessity in part, but also more people lived in rural areas. More people had backyard gardens. Today, however, the number is something like 2%. Okay, we went from almost everybody to 2% of people that are really as part of agriculture when you look at that, total in the country of the US and most other Western countries. So that has an impact on people and their ability to, number one, be self-sufficient, but also in times of concern, this is something that people are unable to deal with. That's what we're having today. And a lot of that production has been farmed out, pun intended. And you look at this at a time in which people should be worried. Like, look at what happened during 2020. The fragility of the whole just-in-time inventory system and how terrible the whole, like, look at the ports. They all got overloaded. We had trucks that were just sitting in the street, just waiting to get rid of their cargo. This type of thing cannot happen. And yet, what's happening today? Barely any change has happened. Maybe 5 years from now, maybe they'll just erase that, as it fades from memory. These type of things should not happen. We should have at least some backup plans. Right now that's not going on. Merchandise exports, that's the blue, and you can see the imports, that's the black. And that has increased dramatically over the years. This chart goes back from basically 2000 up until the present, and you will see that, okay, there's a lot, the economy is churning, if you want to look at it that way, okay? But at the same time, too much production taking place overseas, that means jobs as well, okay? Watch that. And of course, one of the big aspects here is the fact that China has become the manufacturing arm of not just the United States, but the whole world. US-China goods trade hits record even as political split widens. That's one thing. It's because, the reason I mention this is that while we do have tensions, and we'll talk about that in today's video, at levels like, this is terrible to see, right? These two countries, how bad things have really become. It's worrisome, of course. You look at an area like Hawaii and you start to think to yourself, if there's going to be a war, that could easily be the first place that just disappears off the map. That's concerning. What about the West Coast? This is not good. So the point here, and the reason I mention this, is that the trade between these two countries continues to accelerate, and in a sense that is positive because they don't want to just turn that off suddenly if there is a war. Being reliant on each other in a sense may prevent a war. Not necessarily, but it's just not economically, that would be a big mistake. So there is deepening ties between the two countries. At the same time, they're fighting more than ever before. US is absolutely behind on supply chain independence from China. This is a major concern for the US and I think for the rest of the world. China controls roughly 60% of the world's production of rare earth minerals and materials. And I've seen the numbers to be higher. It depends on how you look at rare earths and so on. But those are the things that go into everything. So if they're controlling that, yeah, it's going to be a big problem. All right, look at this. India will buy oil from wherever we have to if the terms are beneficial. And essentially saying, we're going to buy it from Russia. They're giving us a good deal. Why not? Oil and energy is something that we just can't escape from right now. And so we have to be willing to be realistic about the situation. Europe is saying, we don't want to do business with Russia anymore. At the same time, they turn off Nord Stream or never signed on to Nord Stream 2. And then they said, we're going to do business with Qatar instead, but it's going to be until 2026. People are going to have to pay more as a result of this. This is going to affect you, your ability to retire, your investments today. All of these things are reliant on old ways. It's just crazy to see that when you think about it. Look, the true cost of ignoring nuclear energy in the UK neglects its nuclear energy. It's led to challenges in meeting energy demands during the winter and highlighted the risks of blackouts. This is something, you could say the pros and the cons and so on. I just think that when you look at it purely from an economic perspective, it just shows us that a lot of people are going to have to face blackouts. They're going to have to eat the bugs because the World Economic Forum said so. And you're going to have to accept it. Don't worry, you will own nothing and be happy. Oops. All right. Digital pound, possible by 2030 in a bid to combat falling use of cash. State-backed virtual currency likely as Bank of England and the Treasury back Bitcoin project. This is yet one more country that's going towards a digital currency. Central bank digital currencies are being put in place today. There are many different projects that have been set up, and usually they tend to link, like many of them anyway, tend to link themselves with the Bank for International Settlements, the BIS. And that's not a good thing, of course, because that essentially puts less control, even less control than your own central bank, which is not your own anyway, but imagine even further from that. This is crazy. I've been warning about it for a long time. I'm glad you're here. If you're new to the channel, you got to subscribe, because what we're talking about here is like the cutting edge, the leading edge of the information before it happens. And this is the type of thing that you're going to look at and you're going to see developing over the next few years. Watch it. Understand that this is a concern on so many levels. Central bank digital currencies are there, in fact, to trap you in. They're not there to help you. They're there to be basically a monetary prison. We'll talk more about that in other videos. I just want to highlight something real quick. The U.S. military failed to detect prior Chinese incursions, according to a general. This is talking about the balloons. This is I covered it in previous videos, but I just want to highlight it again because there's these tensions that are building back and forth. Apparently, China rejected a call from the US side as well. So these are heating up. We had the tariff war that happened years ago. So many problems between the two sides. But like I said, economically, they're more aware today than before. They're doing business. Okay, China has more ICBM launchers than the US. American military reports. While the US leads in intercontinental missiles and warheads, China gains are fueling debate in Congress. This is, of course, the buildup on both sides that's happening, whether it's nuclear, whether it's cyber. All of these different things are not good. It's not good. Like having more of these weapons, ultimately, it's worrisome. It is to any degree. Hopefully, cooler heads will prevail, and we'll see. New photos show the Navy recovering the downed spy balloon off the coast. I don't know what's going on with this, to be honest with you. They made a lot of claims about it, and we really don't know. I mean, I just saw the boat, and to me, the boat was just so ridiculous. Like, why is it so small anyway? Like, you're going to recover this spy balloon and you bring a little fishing boat, it looks like what's going on here? I don't know. It's just unusual. Anyway, the whole situation, I don't know what to believe anymore. The media is obviously not going to tell us the truth. We know that. But for you as the individual, you need to be protecting yourself, protecting your assets, and watching your back. I mean, that's very clear. We need to have good strategies for this. And I'm going to bring that out in future videos as well. I've got the how-to and solutions playlist. In addition to my 2 books, I'm bringing out content every day. I've been doing 2 videos a day, never mind. I'm on fire, to be honest with you. So stay tuned for that. I don't think I'm going to do 2 videos forever, but I'm doing that right now. And hopefully more people will be able to subscribe. It doesn't go out. These videos don't go out to new people because people don't share them. But hopefully we can get picked up somehow in the algorithm and do it that way. Anyway, I appreciate you being here. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you tomorrow. Take care.